All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you jumping on. This is to kind of go over everything with what we've been posting and what we've been telling you about in regards to the self-employment tax credit. Okay. Um, so I just want to kind of start off with this. I don't know if you guys have dealt with this or heard about this. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I have a timer that's going off on my stuff. Sorry, 2 seconds. Um, all right. So what we're doing, if you guys have heard about the employee retention tax credits, right? That was specifically designed for business owners that had W-2 employees. Okay, with W-2 employees, they were able to get a tax credit based on the amount of employees that they had, and if they suffered anything regards to a detriment by government mandates or anything like that to their business. If they were partially shut down, fully shut down, I'm not sure if you guys realize of what all happened during COVID, but business owners were able to get this. You might have heard it, you may have not, but they were able to get up to $26,000 per employee if they qualified with the wages, and they got that back. Well, in March 2020, okay, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, okay, was established to help companies offer paid sick leave and unemployment benefits caused by COVID-19, initially the FFCRA, okay? And that was focused on employers with W-2s, right? In December of 2020, Congress passed the Coronavirus Aid Relief Act, which is also called the CARES Act, okay? Which please mute yourself. You got it, Nancy?
We mute people.
Well, not only, but they also they expanded the FFCRA to cover not only employers, but they
Can you
also,
mute people?
yeah, mute them. That also were able to expand that to the self-employed. So those are the 1099 contractors. Okay. And if you're filing a 1099, that's you're able to now qualify to get some sort of relief. Okay. And so with that, that's what we're here to tell you about, right? So you've seen the business owners get the ERC tax credits and things like that. We're here to explain to you what the SETC or the FFCRA, the SETC meaning the self-employment tax credit, or the FFCRA, which is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. So we're going to go over that with you right now to kind of explain to you what's needed, what it is, and how to move forward with this. And with that, so I'm going to pass it over to Nancy. She's done all the research on this, knows more than anybody on this call right now. I mean, she obviously knows more than me about this. So we're presenting it to you guys so you guys can make an informed decision, get back the money that you deserve, and if you qualify, that you deserve for this with the credits. So with that, Nancy, I'd like for you to take it over. And guys, this is only going to be about a 30-minute call. So if you're interested in it, great. I think I've seen business owners get this credit a lot, and now it's finally time for the 1099 guys to finally get it. So Nancy, take it away.
Okay. Hi there. My name is Nancy Breckenridge. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for the introduction, Kyle. The FFCRA really is a really wonderful program because it means that finally the self-employed will actually receive some financial support too, because we've spoken to so many businesses that couldn't qualify for the ERC because they were self-employed, a small family-run business, and they've missed out on a lot of the help and support. So this is what we're going to concentrate on today. So to show you that this particular program is a sick and family leave support program. Okay, so if at any time during COVID, for any kind of COVID related issues, and I'm going to go into more details, you could not work, then you might be able to claim this tax credit. Okay, so that is what it's based on. It's not like the ERC, it's a completely different kind of qualification criteria. Okay. And to show you that you watching this event to the end is actually worthwhile, let me tell you what you can be eligible for. Okay. There are several complicated calculations that depend on which criteria you qualify under, how long, time spans, maximum refund ceilings, lots of complicated stuff. That's what we're here to help you with, right? But depending on all of these criteria, you can be eligible for up to $32,000 in tax credit. The average we're seeing is around $9,000, okay? And it covers up to 80 hours of paid sick leave, okay? And up to 10 weeks of family leave, okay? I'll talk a little bit more about these criteria. Everybody, can you please mute yourself? That would be great. Thank you. So the FFCRA is not alone. That is really, really important. Heidi, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. The FFCRA is not alone, but it's a tax credit for the years of 2020 and 21, okay? And it will either reduce the amount you owe in taxes to the IRS, or you could also receive a check, okay? If, for example, the amount that you owe to the IRS is less than the credit, okay, then you'll actually get a check in the bank or a refund, okay? To be able to get this, you have to fulfill several criteria, and I will explain a little bit more about each one of them. Number one, you have to be self-employed. Heidi, can you, or maybe you can try and mute Heidi. You must have filed a Schedule SE of IRS tax form 1040, okay? And you must have paid taxes. If you are a person that has not paid taxes, unfortunately, you cannot claim this credit, okay? Because it's a tax refund, a tax credit. So if you didn't pay taxes, there's nothing to refund, okay? You must have missed work due to COVID-related issues. Okay, again, I explain more about that. And of course, have relevant paperwork. Okay, so be self-employed, file taxes, miss work due to COVID-related issues. Okay, so who is eligible? I said the self-employed. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail because there are a lot of people that might not realize that they can actually be eligible for this, because self-employed includes anybody that has to work on site somewhere, but also everybody that works from home or works remotely. Okay, so if you sell on Etsy and Amazon, for example, if you have a registered business and you qualify the previous three criteria, you can qualify. If you work from home as a website developer or e-commerce entrepreneur or anything like that, you could qualify. Also, for example, delivery drivers. But again, remember, you gotta have to have paid your taxes, etc. Okay, that's important. Gig workers, photographers, singers, any kind of contract workers in builders, painters, decorators, anybody that maybe does care work at home, at people's houses. The list is absolutely endless. If you go to our website, helpingwithERC.com, FFCRA-home, okay, then you'll be able to find another list with potential claimants, okay? Any business owner who is not a W-2, if you are a 1099, you can qualify, okay? If you are a business owner who has 1099s or a mixture of W-2s and 1099s, please pass our information on to them so that we can help them claim. You can't do it for them, they need to do it by themselves, okay? So if you now establish that you are self-employed, okay, then you can be eligible for the FFCRA, but there's some more criteria. Again, I'm going to go into them right now. You must have missed work. Okay, I'm going to go into detail what that is, either due to sickness or because you had to care for a sick person. Doesn't necessarily have to be a family member, okay, or other COVID-related child who wasn't able to go to childcare. You know, a lot of childcare centers, depending what state you lived in some places childcare was deemed essential, you could still go. In some places, schools were closed, everything was closed up, okay? So let's go into more detail on that. Okay. So if you were self-employed, both 20 and 21, and you were unable to work, as I mentioned, on site, from home, or remotely, you must meet these 3 categories. Okay. And also, this is important, the refund amount is calculated differently for each category. Again, this is something that we can help with so that you don't make any mistakes and you don't want to get into trouble with the IRS, but I get some help with this. So first category, some are for your very own COVID-related reasons. There's some examples. So if you were observing, for example, a federal, state, or local quarantine isolation order, okay? So for example, if you're somebody that works on site and you couldn't go to your work site, like you're a builder, you had to do estimates or work somewhere to remodel someone's house, you weren't allowed to go. Okay. Or maybe you're a wedding photographer. Well, I assume the wedding wouldn't have taken place. But anyway, if you're a photographer anyway and you weren't able to go because you had to stay at home, for example, a painter, that kind of thing. Okay. So observing government orders. If you were receiving COVID-19 vaccinations, for some people, that was a big deal. Each time you might have lost a day going to the clinic or waiting or returning. Okay. Some people even had to look and wait on end to get an appointment to get the vaccination. At the beginning, it was all a little bit overrun. So some people might have lost a day or several days, right? Next one, recovering time from COVID-19 vaccine. Some people had mild side effects, some had nothing, some had mild side effects for a few days, some had serious side effects lasting several weeks or sometimes even months. If that was you, you can claim if you're self-employed and you couldn't work. Okay. If you experience corona symptoms and you were seeking medical diagnosis, maybe you fell ill today, but you couldn't get an appointment until tomorrow or in several days. Okay. Maybe you were waiting for test results. Again, if you were COVID suspected, you couldn't work until you, number one, found a test, got an appointment, were tested, and again, the test results came in, right? So again, that could have taken several days each time. Potentially also some people had to follow recommendations by healthcare providers to self-quarantine. For example, if you're maybe an older or maybe a little bit health frail person, or you may were recommended to stay home, okay? Or maybe you had COVID and you needed to stay home anyway, okay? All of these could be reasons. So that's the first category. And you can get up to 2 weeks or 80 hours of 100%, okay, returned of your salary. So that can be quite a lot. It all adds up, okay? On top of that, you could potentially, that's the second category, if you had to care for another person due to COVID-related reasons, okay? So for example, caring for a child or another person who was affected by a government-issued self-quarantine restriction, okay? So the first one was your own COVID-related issues. This is you caring for somebody else with COVID-related issues, okay? Here you can get a maximum of 2 weeks or 80 hours. It's only 2/3 of the salary, okay? But it all adds up. The third category is now where you can get up to 10 weeks. Remember, so many kids couldn't go to school, couldn't go to childcare. So the third category is if you cared for a child whose daycare or school was either closed or unavailable for whatever reason, you can claim that time as well. Okay, so you can see that it can all add up quite quickly, but it is very, very important that you also have the right documentation available and handy. And I've spoken to a lot of self-employed people that sometimes have issues, or, you know, when do you keep a doctor's appointment, right? So you kind of might have to go to some people and obtain that information and ask for it, look for your records to find it, okay? So to claim your credit, you have to provide documentation and proof of your situation. I'm going to give you some examples. Honestly, most of them are pretty common sense, okay? The IRS hasn't defined 100% what is needed because there are so many different kinds of situations. Again, this is something that we can help you with, but I'm going to give you some examples right now, which will give you an idea of what it is that you'll need, okay? And you should make sure that you prepare these records very carefully, okay? So, for example, again, as I said, a lot of them are pretty common sense. You want to have the dates for which you are claiming the sick or the family leave date. Okay, so when were you ill? The reasons why you were ill. Okay, then a statement that you could not perform your services in your business and why. Okay, and any supporting documentation that you have put out there that can prove that this is actually the case. Okay, so if applicable to you, for example, it could be the name of the government entity that issued the order of quarantine or isolation. Okay, so if you go on the internet and look for quarantine isolation orders for the general public, you should be able to find something there. Okay, the name of any healthcare provider that recommended the self-quarantine. Okay, and obviously any contact details, and preferably also a document from them telling you, please don't go out. Okay, or I recommend that you self-quarantine. The name of the person that you were caring for and your relationship to them. Okay, again, any details from them. Again, it doesn't state it on the IRS website. I would also put in a little statement from that person. Yes, that person looked after me from this date and this date, and this is the reason why. Again, the more backup you can get yourself, the better. Okay. If you needed sick or family leave because you were caring for a child for whose school or daycare was closed, okay, or maybe because the childcare was unavailable, you should also have the name and ages of the child or children that you are caring for. Okay. Also, relationship to them, were they your own children or if there were other people's children, because that might mean that you maybe fall into category 2 or 3, right? The name of the school or kindergarten or place of care, childcare provider or whoever, maybe you give it to a private person and they couldn't look after them. Okay, so you can see that you need to really do a little bit of research to get this information. And then a statement that no one else will care for your child during that time. Okay, so you have to also show that you were trying to find somewhere else for your child to go to. Again, this is not because you were scared of COVID, because you made your own decision, but because the place, your childcare place, was actually not available. Okay. If you need to leave to care for a child older than 14, okay, a statement needs to be made for that as well. Okay, so there are many complicated criteria. This is why we're offering our services to help you navigate through this and not make any mistakes, but at the same time help you maximize your refund. Okay, so if you're interested in this, let us know. Let's first take any questions, if there are any questions, and I'm going to put our contact details into if there are any questions from the attendants here.
So if Lynn, did you have a question? Okay. So Nancy, so basically, can you both get ERC and SETC? I would say, Javier, what's the answer on that one, Nancy? Can they? I would say, yeah, because if you have a business that you're a 1099 and then also have another business, those are two completely separate entities. Because with ERC, you weren't able to get, the business owner was unable to get the ERC money, right? It was basically based upon the employees that you had, and those were the ones that got the money. But you cannot get the SETC, I don't believe, for that company.
Okay, let me jump in here. So the SETC or FFCRA, it's the same thing. SETC stands for Self-Employment Tax Credit. FFCRA, okay, it's way too many acronyms, but it's the same thing. Okay, so the ERC is just for W-2 employees that filed 941s. That's it. Okay. The FFCRA or SETC is for 1099 or the self-employed. So no, you cannot get both because you are either one. But if at some stage you were a business owner and you had W-2 employees, you can apply for the ERC for your W-2 employees. If then halfway through at some stage you became self-employed, maybe you had to let go of your of your W-2s, you change your employment status, now you are self-employed, then for that time you can file for the FFCRA, right? But you can't be both at the same time, so you can't claim for both of them at the same time. But if you are at separate stages, you can do that. Yeah, that's correct. Any other questions? Sorry, if you covered this and I missed it, what are the documents that ERCs are going to need in order to process this credit? I'm assuming in 1099, and you mentioned some statements to try another care. Okay, the ERC is something completely different. It's a completely different program. This is just for W-2 employees.
1099s.
Report, gross payroll report, 941s, and any kind of grant information, PPP loan, that kind of thing, okay? Completely separate program. The 1099s, this is what we were talking about right now because they would be self-employed, okay? Let me have a quick look here. Yes, it is the 1099s, the program that we talked about today, where you have to prove why you couldn't work, why you were potentially needing to look after a child or another person, and here that a statement that you try to find another caretaker. Okay, Valerie, does that answer your question?
So basically we have to, basically the documentation that we have to provide to qualify for this is that COVID took us out, right? We sat on the sidelines. We couldn't go to work because one, we either had COVID, or two, we had a family member that had COVID and we had to take care of them, i.e. A kid, a wife, husband, anything like that. And we could not go to work because of that. We have to provide documentation, i.e. doctor slip, or what kind of official statements do we need in order to qualify for the program? Do we have to have a doctor slip, or can we just say, hey, we wrote it down and said I couldn't get childcare for these weeks and I had to take it over, signed by me? I mean, at what point, how does that go about?
As I mentioned, the IRS has not defined exactly what form this needs to take. Because basically some people don't have this kind of information always available, depending on your situation. Okay, so what I would do is I would make it as formal as you possibly can. So I would not just send an email saying I went to the doctor here and that's it, right? I would get everything on backup as possible as you can, getting it from your doctor, getting it from the from the childcare center. But if you use a private person to look after your child, I mean, how formal can that be, right? In the end, they might not have a letterhead and a stamp. So there you'll have to get a letter from them, okay? That's why I'm saying the more formal you can make the documentation, the better. Where you cannot make it formal, you need to try if it's being accepted or not. So I think that's all I can say right now because there are many
So we just need to put it together, make it look good, document it, and say, hey, you know, even if you use a spreadsheet, these are the days that we're out, these are the dates, this is the time frame, here it is all laid out on even just a spreadsheet. A small spreadsheet can suffice, that is what you're saying. And guys, this program we've just got in this. The IRS is always changing things. Things may change. But the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that this program, the money that you get back on this is not taxable. This is a non-taxable event. So if you get 9,000 as the average, or you get up to the 32,200, you are not going to pay taxes on this money. This is already the money that you paid out in taxes, pretty much. Okay.
So, yep, there's another question here. I'm assuming a doctor's note that they can get from their provider or who had their medical treatment. Yes, absolutely. I would say a spreadsheet just with the data is not enough, because you need to provide backup proof. But great, if you have a spreadsheet with all of the details in there, and then also provide the documents, okay? Valerie asked, so submitting along with 1099 forms, what the ERC specialists do. Well, there is way more involved with it. You know, we're not just taking your information and submitting it, okay? We have a specific questionnaire that we make sure that you are actually eligible. We help you tell you exactly what it is that you need for your specific situation. And we are going to make sure that you can get the maximum refund in the most compliant way, because we obviously want to make sure that your application is compliant with all the laws and regulations. So it is a little complicated to go and look on the internet when it gets to this law.
So guys, if you're a 1099 and you have, what date does it, and you have questions with this, we just kind of wanted to present it out there. You get more specific with the questions, we can answer those. If you essentially though, this is what it is. If you missed time, right? And if you missed time via COVID, you had COVID, your family had COVID, you had to, you know, take days away from working, you had to take days away from doing your business and caring for people, or you yourself had COVID, you are eligible. Time frames on this, SETC for 2020, you have until April 15th, 2024. Okay, for the 2020 year. And for the 2021 year, you have until April 15th, 2025. Same thing as what the ERCS is. I mean, the ERC credit is. Same time frames. Okay. It starts April 1st, 2020.
Okay, that's
time frames, and it goes up until September 30th, 2021. That's your time frames for the ERC. I mean, for the SETC.
If you had to provide for a care for a child whose childcare wasn't available, some of the dates run a little bit longer. Okay, so I need to double check one more quick time what their time frame was. But the main time frame is till April 21st. Oh yeah, till September. So if there were issues with childcare, that can potentially go until September. So this particular program, they put a lot of emphasis on schools not having been opened. Okay, so I put my contact details one more time into the chat. If you want to get hold of us and find out more, you will also receive another, hang on, helping with erc.com. You will also receive another email with the replay. That's probably just going to take a couple of hours to get this onto YouTube. You can pass this on, and you will also get contact details where you can let us know if we can be of assistance. Okay, Kyle, some closing words?
Guys, I know I just wanted to, we can get more specific, and we could take this on to an hour. I don't think everybody has an hour, but just know that if you had gone through these issues, give us a call. We'll take you through, and we'll try to figure out how much you're able to get back on this. Okay. But that's what we wanted to share with you guys. You guys are due if you are a 1099. And what I mean 1099, if some of you guys have some questions, you know, accountants, bookkeepers, Airbnb hosts, if that's what you're doing, Amazon resellers, copywriters, construction workers, consultants, dentists, graphics. If you're 1099, if you work for yourself, if you do side gigs, Uber Eats, all that kind of stuff, Uber, you could qualify for this program. Now, it's going to be based on how much you make. Okay. That's how much money you're going to get back. So they're not just saying, hey, it's $500 a day or whatever. It's up to, I think I read $511 per day, or, you know, so it's up to $32,200 that you could get back on this on this SETC credit. Okay. If that's something that you want to look into, you experienced COVID, you had issues with COVID affecting your commute to work, you're going to work, you had issues affecting your family, and you couldn't do anything with that. If your wife, husband, daughter, son, whoever, if they experience that too, they could qualify. So it goes on and on and on and on. There's so many 1099 workers. So here's the other thing. Even if you have a full-time job and you also do a 1099 job, okay, you could qualify for that. Okay, as long as you did not, if you got paid on your sick days, they're going to take that out from your W-2 job. But if you didn't, those 1099 jobs, right, the 1099s, you will be able to qualify for those days that you missed. Okay, you would be able to get that. So that's what I wanted to share with you all today. I think it's a big opportunity for a lot of people. The gig work, the 1099 work, you guys, it's the majority of the United States, right? Not majority, but it is a large portion of the workforce in the United States that you guys can finally get some money back to put back in your pocket, right? And the deadline to get the most amount of money back is April 15th. So that's something that you guys got to jump on and move quickly, so that way you can get the most amount of money back. Okay. Nancy, thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Everybody, like I said, if you have questions, shoot us an email. We'll go through the call with you. We'll do everything we can to make sure that we can get you the most amount of money back for your credits. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a great, if I don't talk to you, hope you guys have a great Christmas, happy holidays, have a happy new year. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, we'll talk to you later.